Hi everybody, we are incredibly excited to have Roja Dove himself for the interview here, and it's absolute pleasure because you are a legend. Your work is so deeply admired by so many different people, whether they are just getting into the fragrance world or they have been in it for quite some time and they are collectors like me, and you just continue putting out gem after gem after gem.
Thank you very much. It's very, very generous of you.
And of course, many people want to be able to glimpse behind the curtain and understand what is your creative process? How do you create these beautiful masterpieces?
There are a few routes. Sometimes it's in a name. As you know, a lot of the names of our scents are very provocative, evocative, scandal, fetish, danger, enigma. What does that word sum up? And the person who might wear a scent with that name. Sometimes they can be things which are very personal to me. So a name like a goodnight kiss, or the scents Lakme and Turandot, very particular things that I experience. Sometimes I don't come with the name, somebody else will. So with the case of Elysium and Apex, somebody came with the name. I then have to think, okay, well, when you work on this name and play the name, what does the name mean? What is it we want to convey? And if I have all of those things clear in my mind, it becomes very clear how the scent should be. If you write, for example, if you don't plot how a story should be in your mind, you can't write it, because you would just be writing and writing and writing, and you'll end up getting nowhere. So you have to have the final destination in your mind, but on the journey you might change quite where you end up. Maybe you take them on a couple of detours, they're not sure that's where the end point will be. And that's what perfume's about.
I love that, because every single scent that you create does have that twist. There's always that.
Maybe it says I'm twisted.
Well, that's perfect. We're in Twisted Lily, love it. So that goes right up our alley. But it's incredible that you shared that, because I know that you have shared this in one of your interviews, that you kind of approach this from the psychological point of view. You know, for you, it's about reading different personalities, and that you even mark the blotter sometimes working with people underneath, just to show them that was the scent that you originally picked for them.
I do that very rarely, and since I've told that story once or twice, I don't do it anymore.
Well, I
because
did read it.
People might look for it. But a long time ago, I had a big interview in GQ magazine, and a man, he was a broadsheet journalist. He came from America. He came over to Britain. He spent 3 days with me. And at the very end, I went through what I would do if I were making bespoke perfume. There were about 60 or 80 things I gave him to smell, and he had, as you said, with the one blotter in his hand. And I said, if you look, you'll see that blotter has a little tear on the bottom and none of the others. And I said, I could have told you when I met you 3 days ago, this is the scent you would have chosen. That depends how open somebody is.
Right.
You know, if some people can be very, very closed, but if you have somebody who's quite open, not just to do with perfume, but to do with just in general life, you get a feel for them. And this man, I just got a feel. And I think people forget that scent is truly an expression of our personality. And I think one of the most difficult things is when we go into stores, we're so seduced by the name and the package and all of that, but sometimes the scents really don't live up to that. It's not a proper marriage between the name and the scent. It's why people buy things and they use it 6-10 times, and then it sits on a table somewhere and it's not used, because the scent didn't really reflect who they are. And what I always hope is that the people who handle my work, it's of course out of my hands, but I hope they really take the time to help the person discover the scent that expresses who they are best. Because that's what scent is, an expression of who we are.
Absolutely. It's very, very important, because a lot of people, they want to kind of pull the trigger too quickly. They don't give it the time to kind of date before they marry.
Certainly.
So to say so. Absolutely, 100% agree with you, and I love that perspective. And of course, I'm very well aware of your career path, and I read so much about you and how the journey began. But for anybody who is just kind of learning and wants to understand how the journey began for you, where did it all start? What was that first scent memory, and kind of how did it progress afterwards?
I always used to think I knew what my earliest scent memory was. And I always said it was a kiss my mother gave me when I was a small boy. But years and years ago, there is a fabulous woman called Vera Stubbe. She was the CEO for Thierry Mugler. She was a woman who pushed for Angel because they didn't want it. She pushed for it.
She was a visionary.
And she was a visionary. And I don't know if you remember, but they made a film of the book Perfume by Patrick Suskind. And there are 2 perfumers called Le Deux Christophe. And they made scents that went with the story of the book. It was never commercialized. It was totally esoteric. And I was called in to smell to smell these two perfumes. When I was given one of them, I stopped. I don't know if you use the same terms in America, so I might have to explain what I'm talking about. I said, how old is a child when you put it in reins? I said, I'm sure they're illegal now, but it's like a harness for a child.
Right.
And so somebody said, I can't remember, 2 or 3 or something like this. I said, ooh. And they said, why? And I said, because I've remembered I used to have leather reins and I used to chew the strap, and this scent makes me think of the wet leather. And so I had just gone back maybe about 3 or 4 years in an olfactive journey to when I was maybe 3 years old with the smell of wet leather.
That triggered.
So it just, and as we all know, that's the thing that's so brilliant with scents like that. The original dream is revived.
Today, you have so many different fragrances. You have created colognes. And by the way, I'm going to have to sneak this question. This was the question from one of our followers on IG. And they asked, is there another cologne in the making? Because that was such a big success and everybody wants to know, so I had to ask.
Okay, around the world, our #1 selling fragrance is Elysium. People don't like it, they seem to love it. Thank you very much indeed. And I'm also very proud to say that I understand Apex, which is very new in comparison,
marvelous.
Is almost tracking as successfully as Elysium, which I'm very, very proud of. With Elysium, we are just about to launch a brand new scent, and it's really important to say it is a new scent, but it's called Elysium Intense. What I want people to understand is it's not a fresher version, it's a different scent based on the same key raw materials, if that makes any sense whatsoever. So the story of Elysium was all about paradise. It's the oldest name for paradise. And I always say, so creative process. What is paradise? So paradise can be an extra hour in bed, when you don't have to get up.
Yes.
Paradise can be sitting on the beach, just looking at the sun setting, maybe with a cocktail in your hand. But the one thing, certainly with paradise, you have no pressure. That's one thing you will never have. It's about having no pressures at all. So the feeling of weightlessness. And with Elysium, what I tried to do was make a scent which had that feel. When you first put it on, it's very fresh and bright, almost like a supernova, the man walking in the room, radiating out light, or maybe drawing you in. It depends how you see the light coming. It feels weightless, and yet anyone who wears it knows that it lasts and lasts and lasts and lasts and lasts. In the top, because it's so fresh and citric, it has a note of musk. If people want to know, it's Helvetica, which is one of the only musks which work as a top note. And the point of that was I wanted people to realize the scent is sexy from the very get-go. As you get to know this man, his message is very simple from the get-go. So with Eau Intense, I wanted to make a scent which amplified all the sensations. It gives you more, but in a different way.
Are you ready for more?
Because we already have the perfume. Of course, everybody's ready for more. Wait till you smell it. So in the top, it opens with this same medley of citrus fruits with the lime and the lemon and the grapefruit, but there's a very juicy note of rhubarb, which gives it this very fresh, sappy note in the top. And in the heart, a new material, it has tuberose, but the tuberose has been put in not to give sweetness, but it gives this very ample, rich fullness, which is going to lead you down into this very woody base. Elysium has in pink peppers, and so that sort of rosy freshness is out, and it's been replaced with black pepper. And if people really know the scent of black pepper oil, it's very fresh, so it connects with the top, but it's woody. And so it starts to enhance this very, very, very woody base, which is about the Elysium field. It also has in it, a note of violet leaf.
Ooh.
And so the violet leaf is one of the classical green notes of perfumery. It works with a note of galbanum, and it makes you feel as though you're touching the Elysium fields themselves. So if your feet are in the Elysium fields. And the woods are also changed. It has a lot of cedar wood in still, but it has a lot of dry woods. I don't know if you'd like to smell it.
I would
this
love
is smell-o-vision.
it.
Sorry, it's not. That's a lie. But here. So you'll smell lots of things you know of Elysium, but it's a different scent.
This is a very different scent, and it's so beautiful, but it's a completely different character. This is a different personality. There's definitely that DNA that you're still picking up on what the foundation of it was, yet it's a completely different spin.
I didn't want it to be just, a light fresh flanker, or it's looking at the original one and thinking, how else could this be interpreted? How could it be done differently?
This is beautiful. You guys are going to love it.
I'm hoping that the men who love Elysium find this and love it, and find that they can use this one way and this for another time of day.
Absolutely.
Or another situation.
I think it definitely can, both of them can live in a collection.
It looks, this is it.
I love the smokiness of it.
Yeah, so it's in a frosted glass bottle. It's the first time we've used this sort of matte grey steel top. Elysium Intense. I hope you like it.
How do you envision the future, for the brand? Of course, today everything is different because so many things are more digital. I mean, we're an online only. This is why we put such a heavy focus on discovery and the avenues of discovery through looking at the fragrance by mood and searching the fragrance by inputting fragrance that you previously wore and focusing on how do you deliver that message to somebody who's across the world, who's not able to necessarily come and maybe sample this in real life, which of course is unbeatable. And I think that that's eventually the goal. But how do you envision reaching and talking to these new consumers, and how does that reflect in how you create?
I think a lot of it is down to how we communicate on an everyday basis. So why is it important that I'm here and sitting and talking to you? Because I can talk to one person, whereas you're talking to hundreds of thousands of people. So all around the world, as best we can, I try to visit the market, I try to meet the people who in the end are talking to the end consumer. I think as a brand, are very good. The team that look after all the online, really connecting with the consumers and interacting with the consumers. We have a very good reputation within the industry for it. A lot of people say, which is very nice, not my words, how approachable we are, and they can't believe that they get replies. Or I of course don't reply to a lot because I can't, but I try to. And we do a thing of people a few times a year where people can send questions in, and I'll sit and make the videos. There aren't many brands that do that sort of thing. So I think we're constantly listening to what our consumers say. We sell, I think, in 65 countries around the world, so we talk to all of our partners and really listen to what they have to say. It's like when you take citrus materials. Citrus materials are really not liked in the Middle East. They don't like them. For them, citrus is not to do with fine perfumery. If you live in another part of the world, Manhattan in the summer when it's sticky and hot, there's nothing more lovely than something very, very fresh. So the associations of scent culturally, so forget generationally, culturally we have to take into account. But then we also need to look and listen always to what our consumers are saying as another generation come. What I also think is interesting, as scent is always about fashion and cycles. For a lot of very young people, when they smell a type of scent that's really been out of fashion for a long time, when they discover it, it's as if it's brand new to them. Whereas to somebody maybe 15 years older than them or 20 years older, it's an old person scent, if that makes any sense. It's just a case of always being aware and listening. But I think as well as being aware and listening, you always have to stand for something. I've always said you cannot make scent by committee, and nothing will ever change my view on that, because scent is such an emotive thing and it's such a personal thing. So if I listen to what every single person had to say, we will get nowhere whatsoever. We will have a new women's launch coming later, and when it comes, it will be like nothing we have in our collection. Because what's the point of, like this, what's the point of having something which is like something you already know? Because we're aware that there is an entire clientele who love the idea of our brand, but maybe we don't have quite what they want.
Right.
So it's trying to listen and adapt what you have, and then create the thing that you hope that those people will love.
As you were talking about Manhattan in the middle of the summer, I couldn't wait to jump into the new fragrance, because that's what I'm going to be drenched in. That's going to be my escape.
Which is the Isola Blu?
Yes, it's going to be my olfactory escape, because I do want to be on a yacht in the middle of a Mediterranean.
So the whole story of Isola Blu, it was this idea that holiday, I think, is one of the big luxuries for all of us. I think anybody who's watching, I'm sure you'd all agree, you don't get enough holiday. If we could get more holiday, how marvelous the world would be. And so Isola Blu, the thought of it was somebody arriving at their own private island. They arrive in a riva. It was very important. So they're in a riva. They maybe have their hand in the water as the sun's making it glitter like diamonds, maybe with a cocktail or a champagne, who knows. And you arrive, and on this island is your perfect villa, whatever that is, because it's your place. Everything in it is luxurious. It could be simple elegance, it could be decadent opulence, whatever your idea of luxury is. When you smell this scent, in this mythical island off of Italy. You think of the south of Italy with all of the citrus fruit that grows there, so this perfume has lots and lots of citrus in the top. In the south of France and south of Italy, all the herbs that grow, the lavender, and in particular thyme in this perfume. And the reason for the thyme in the back of the note has something slightly leathery, and it's going to connect you to something in the base which is slightly leathery. The heart of the perfume has a flower called champaca. Champaca is a type of magnolia, and when you smell it, it makes you think of when you hug someone who's been laying in the sun, and you almost smell the sun coming from their skin. And I think it's one of the most sensual smells in the world. So you have these little fruity notes in it, a little touch of coconut, or maybe it's another cocktail you've just made, the smell of the sun-kissed skin from the champaca. And then in the base of the perfume, it's a chypre, a very light chypre, so you have a lot of woods and oak moss, cedar wood. There's a smell of cut grass, because this whole thing of the citrus fruit and the herbs and the cut grass makes you think of summer. And then a few touches of some slightly ambery notes, so a little bit of benzoin, a little bit of vanilla to soften the thing. So it comes in this box, and there you see the sun shining over this marvelous Isola Blu, and you see the bottle which nestles in the beautiful color of the Mediterranean Sea. The cap, I love the color of the cap the team chose.
I love it. It's like that water.
Can I put a little on you?
Oh, yes, please.
And when you smell it, you can't be under a grey sky.
You cannot.
It's
you painted
impossible.
The perfect picture.
It's impossible to be under a grey sky. It takes you to the sun, to somewhere beautiful.
It's beautiful. It's happiness bottled up. It's that perfect feeling of being in the moment where nothing is, you don't have any work piled up, you don't have anybody waiting for you that you have to answer to. You only have cocktails, the sea.
The design team came up with that. I love it.
We loved it.
So it's a scent blotter. So when you come, it's a scent blotter you can smell, but it's like an air ticket that takes you off, because it will take you to your own private
immediate
island.
takeoff. It's like immediate takeoff.
Immediate first class takeoff.
Oh, it's perfect. It's perfect. It's luxurious. It's opulent, but it's also very light and ethereal, and it's
Thank you.
And it's transportive.
And you'll find what's strange is how long-lasting it is, which for citrus, fresh scents, as we all know, they don't normally last, but you find it really holds and holds and holds on this thing.
This is a question we get quite often, and I don't think I've met a fragrance by you that had not lasted long.
I think it's part of our DNA that people expect. I always say what's interesting with the perfumes, they have strong personality, yet they themselves are not strong, if that makes sense. When they're on, they smell soft, and that they last. Everyone is shocked at how long our fragrances last.
Exactly, like you said, it's part of your DNA. It's that opulence and that long, beautiful scent trail that you leave behind everywhere you go.
Yeah, it's like a kiss that lasts.
And what could be better than that? As we're bringing this to the end, of course, we all want to know what's inside your fragrance wardrobe if we were to peek inside.
Oh, blah. I only have one scent, which is the scent that I wear. I made the scent for me. We never meant to commercialize it. Most people call it Outlooks. Its proper name is my name. It's Roja. It's in a collection called Outlooks. It has all my favorite raw materials in. I have one other scent at home, but I don't wear it. I just like to have it, which is a scent called Great Britain. Have you smelled it?
I love it. I have it in my collection.
Thank you. It's a very special scent. I'm one of 30 cultural ambassadors for Great Britain, which I'm very proud of. And I was asked by my government if I could make the smell of my country. And that's one of those that's one of those pinch me moments. I really love the scent. It's frightening to a lot of people because it's a big leathered sheep with this beautiful note of violet. And the story of it, the violet, you can crush a violet without knowing. And the country will support the most fragile person through its strength. That was the idea of the leather and the violet.
Oh, I love that.
But they all have very particular stories. We go around a full circle.
Yeah.
You ask what inspires me. So it's always, it's the river and the sun and this carefree time and luxury. That's Isola Blu. Elysium is paradise and sitting, watching the sun setting. Apex, reconnecting yourself to nature. And you catch all those in the scents. And the beautiful thing is once you know them and you make your own association with one breath of it, like that, you're back in that place.
You're
How brilliant is that?
It's brilliant. And you are absolutely amazing.
You're too kind.
This has been such a lovely conversation, and to be able to sit down with you and have this talk, so grateful.
My head's going to be so big I won't get out the door. Thank you very much indeed for having me on.
Thank you. You are amazing.
Thanks,
we can't
everyone.
wait for all the new releases, and stay tuned.
Thank you. Whenever you go to try a scent, take a pen with you. Get a bunch of blotters, spray, and this might sound really stupid, maybe something like a peg, clothes peg, or 2. Spray the blotters and end up putting the blotters into the peg so you don't let them touch with the names. Maybe do 10, 5, 10, whatever you like. And then go somewhere very quiet, not the perfumery, so there's not a lot of other smell. Turn all the blotters